Hey, all right, we're gonna get started. Sorry to chase you guys out. Hey, is anybody on Twitter right now? Are you guys getting a feed off Twitter? Mine isn't working right now. Anyone? I only asked because I just tweeted out the slide deck. So if you're interested in the slide deck, it's on Twitter, but mine's not loading tweets right now. So anyway, it's there for you later if you want it. So it's on SlideShare, which is LinkedIn's site for slide decks. So if there's anything in here that you want, it's there for you. If you can't get to Twitter right now, I apologize for that. Anyway, hey gang, I got 30 minutes, and so I got to go kind of fast on this topic. It's a huge topic, and it's a really exciting topic. And let me just start off by saying that innovation programming in the K-12 space is a very, very new concept. I speak on this topic at a lot of conferences, education conferences around the country, and I've been speaking on it for about 3 years. And in Minnetonka, we've been running this program you're going to hear about for 6. So we're at a pretty sophisticated level right now in running this program, but we stole absolutely everything from private sector, right? United Health, Target, General Mills, all these major Fortune 100s in the Twin Cities, we basically copied their innovation program and translated it into education, language. So, absolutely everything you see here is doable in any school or district environment. We've got districts that are replicating this model in the Twin Cities area. In fact, we've got a lot of foundations that are interested in underwriting the cost because they really want the next workforce to have these experiences and skills. So it's a pretty exciting story. It's just starting to catch some traction. I was at South by Southwest, and I had a great group there, and I felt like for the first time, like people were getting kind of what's happening here. So I'm pretty optimistic and hopeful that we're on a good path here. But let's jump into it. We got 30 minutes. You guys are going to click the timer, and my clicker's working. There it is. There's Twitter. If you're on Twitter, that's my handle, Eric21C Lead. So you can find me. Also, obviously, the Summit hashtag is a place to find me as well. That handsome gentleman there at the bottom is Jeff Erickson. He's our high school principal. He's in the audience here somewhere in the back. These lights are so bright I can't see anything. So feel free to follow me on Twitter if that's something you're interested in. And let me get the clicker going. Look at that. It's a little slow. And then you may recognize the image at the top, right? Who recognizes that right away? Any Stanford people? D-School? All right, design thinking. So you're going to see, and I weave that into the presentation, a lot of what we use is the design thinking model. When we're advancing ideas, we find that to be a really awesome process. We teach that to our staff, to our students. For us, it's a great system for innovation and innovative thinking. So a little bit more about me. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Instruction in Minnetonka Public Schools. It's about 10,000 students, suburban district, just west of Minneapolis. Again, I oversee the academic program, so this is the hat I wear when I'm leading the academic program, doing curriculum reviews. You guys who are in education, I'm that guy who runs the review process. Not exciting, but important. But when I'm running innovation, I wear a different hat. It's a kind of a crazy hat. So half of my job, I'm leading the academic program. The other half of the job, I'm really trying to drive creative thinking in the district. So you need to have that kind of split type personality to do this job well. And I always explain to people the motivation for this kind of work, I believe, in education comes from this graphic, which if you can't see here, get that star out of there for a second. This is the Gallup poll looking at confidence in public schools. It's dropped by 50%, right, 50% in the last 30 years. And then I just put in that little star there, a little prematurely. That right there is where Minnetonka Public Schools is. All right, so our school district has 72% passing rate on our last tax levy. So we've established a high level of confidence through our work with our community, and it starts with this innovation programming. Our community loves it. Anybody in the audience have to pass local levies or referendums to get funding? Okay, a couple hands. So anyway, this is the secret sauce in Minnetonka for getting our levies passed. And it definitely increases our confidence. the Communities Conference in Schools. Now, this is Minnetonka Senior High. If you're familiar with niche.com, all right, that's the rating service that a lot of people are looking at these days. And you can see there that our senior high school gets an A+ rating on niche.com. So a lot of folks would say, well, innovation must be easy in Minnetonka. But actually, the organizations that are performing at that level are the hardest ones to change. There's the most resistant to new ideas because everything's awesome, right? So I used to work in an urban environment, Minneapolis Public Schools, where innovation was really welcomed because we almost had nothing to lose, right? So I always argue that innovation in Minnetonka, although yes, we're a high-achieving school district, still it's very hard to move change in that kind of an environment. So stick with me here. What we did 6 years ago is we started this innovation program that is based entirely on crowdsourcing. So if you're familiar with Kickstarter, all those kinds of web-driven innovation engines, that's what we do. Now, we gave it an adorable name. It's called the Big Hunt for Ideas, right? Now, what educator wouldn't love that? It's firewalled so that the public can't see it. So I can't even show you the platform here live because it literally is protected so that the staff are having a private conversation inside of this website, all right? And in the last 6 years, we have launched some amazing, really moonshot ideas. Vantage, which was one of the XQ finalists. Tonka Codes, which is a K-12 computer science and coding program. We start teaching coding in kindergarten in Minnetonka, right? A lot of sessions here at GSV about computer science and coding. We trained 350 elementary teachers in a coding scope and sequence. I personally taught the kindergarten teachers. So that's an amazing moonshot. Tonka Online, we've got a fully online, 100% virtual learning environment. We've got 40-some courses right now. We've got about 2,000 enrollments this coming year, not quite, but it's an amazing trajectory that we're on there. And it all came from our staff. They submitted the idea in our fall event. There's more. Design for Learning. There's an elementary teacher who submitted this idea. Why don't we give teachers more authority over their classroom interior? Let them purchase the furniture. Let them decide what the learning station should look like. Let the students be involved in the conversation about the space, right? It became Design for Learning. It's now distributed over $250,000 in mini grants to teachers. It's just been fantastic. Our parent clubs can't give enough money to that innovation. And then Minnetonka Research is a 100% authentic research center in our high school for students who have taken biology, chemistry, physics, and they're looking for something more, right? We had kids who'd go to the college, the community college or state college or university to get more science. We thought, let's keep them here, so we built an authentic science lab. Now, they're all 5 great stories, and I could go on, but what's important is all these ideas came from our staff. All right, it's crowd-based, it's crowd-sourced, and these are the big ideas. What really makes this work and what's changed our culture so that it really embraces change are the small ideas, right? The little inexpensive ideas that teachers will give us through this event that we run every fall. And it doesn't cost us a nickel, but we build trust with our staff, and I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit here. So the Big Hunt for Ideas, massive moonshots that the school board loves, but small is the new big when it comes to this innovation work. Like I just said, we really focus on those quick wins and show our staff that we're serious about innovation. When I talk about this version of innovation, a lot of folks are innovative, right, in their classrooms. We've got awesome teachers who know how to think creatively outside the box. This is systems innovation. So this is innovation that's endorsed and led at the district level. Now, I would argue a school principal could run this as a school leader, right? A grade level leader could run this. Any version of this at any level of scale can be run. There's a school district with about 3,000 students. We're 10,000. There's a school district that's replicated this in a rural area of Minnesota, and they got the exact same results we got, just a smaller scale. We had 208 ideas this year, they had 30. It's just a different number, but the exact same enthusiasm, the exact same results. So I know this works, and I often say to people, what if we could use this to solve real problems? Because we do. What if the process was repeatable? 6 years. I mean, there's a very predictable cycle here the kind of PDSA cycle that people know now really well. What if teacher morale increased? I'm going to show you a data point here. We've got an amazing level of teacher morale, and our teachers are paid okay, but what they really care about is that their ideas matter in our district, right? They can't go anywhere else and have their ideas heard like they do in our school district. What if student achievement increased? Every single year we've run this program, our student achievement has continued to move upward. So we're not hurting achievement. If anything, we're helping it. And then what if community support increased? I talked about that earlier. We've got an incredible level of support from our community. My favorite story to tell is that Vantage program. I won't go into depth, but when we sliced our community, when we polled them before our last tax levy, the most conservative anti-tax group in our community identified Vantage as the reason they would vote for the levy. So our innovative mindset, our innovative programming, sometimes you just get lucky and you connect with a group of your community that you would not have connected with prior. So without going into detail on that one, I'll just stop and say, what if you could change everything? What if you could change the way people think about change? And that's what you can do when you really embrace innovation programming. And there's three things that I always say, we can do this. Number one, we can improve the student experience. Right? We can come up with new ideas that make the environment better for kids. We can increase teacher engagement. We've got, lots of school districts have teacher shortages. We never have a shortage of applicants for our positions. People want to come work in our district. And then rapid response. Our ability to solve problems now, people don't gripe and whine about things that are problems. They know they've got an avenue to make things change and to generate, crowd support, and the district will support that. So those three things are critical, and it really changes the entire system. So very quickly here, kind of how does it work? It's going to light up in white letters very soon here. Come on, clicker. I did a session this morning. Who was there and saw me dying with the clicker? Thank you. It's death by clicker. Come on, these walls are too thin. Okay, so I do this for fun. This is year zero. This is actually the year before I got there. But you'll notice at the very bottom of our strategic plan, there it is, Minnetonka Innovates. But our school board and our superintendent did endorse it, and they did identify it as a strategic direction for the district. It's right before I got there. Also, the district had started reading this book. Awesome book, takes you 30 minutes to read. Anybody heard of this, How Stella Saved the Farm? Yeah, it's not on the bestseller list, but it's kind of a mock-up of Animal Farm, all right? But it teaches you about how to create a dedicated innovation team. We did that. It teaches you how to build that team from the ground up. We had teacher participation on that team, very important, parents, etc. How to anticipate and manage conflict. I do that all the time because guess what? Innovation's disruptive, right? So all these new ideas, as wonderful and fun as it can be, it's moving someone's cheese, right? So I'm always dealing with some of that backroom conflict. Conduct disciplined experiments. I'm going to get into this later. We run what we call micro tests, all right? XQ is awesome. They give big financial grants, RFP, basically a contest. When our ideas move forward, we don't have that kind of a bankroll. So what we do is we micro test the ideas to see which ones have the most value. Gather evidence. That's part of our scientific process. And then evaluate leaders on experiment process, not outcome. So we never evaluate our ideas on reading and math scores. Not right away. Eventually, we should get achievement bump, right? But initially, we use softer metrics so that we can get through the first couple stages of idea development. That was year zero. Here's another year zero, John Cotter, Our Iceberg is Melting. Great book. We definitely nailed all 8 of these. We created a sense of urgency. We actually created a team called the Urgency Team. Superintendent, President of the union, all those folks who could spread the message about urgency. Then we formed a guiding coalition. I'm the Assistant Superintendent. This is the work group, all right? We've got a work group together. We weren't doing messaging, we were doing hands-on. So John Cotter's model is awesome. Here's year 1. We built a website. Okay, and this is firewall protected, and it's built on software called Spigot, but you can see what happens here. You just click buttons, post an idea, vote on an idea. There's a leaderboard, so if you're kind of a competitive person, you can get in there and make a lot of comments and score points. Some people like that, some didn't, but we started to engage people, and again, talked a little bit about the software product that we used. It's called Spigot. You may or may not have heard of it. There are about 16 innovation software programs that are out there. Spigot in Forrester, April 2016 was rated #1. So when you're rated #1, you're going to be a little bit expensive. There's a cheaper version of innovation software that you could use. We actually get our software deployed by United Health Optum, and they do it for a fraction of the cost. And they would do that for anybody. So if you're really serious about this and you want to get Spigot at a low price, Optum gets volume discount purchasing, and they deploy the software for us, which is super awesome. So there it is. That's actually what we started with, the Big Idea Hunt. That was our first name. We had these 3 levels: transformational ideas, we had adjacent, just kind of cross from maybe one sector to another, and incremental, the little baby ideas. Well, nobody understood any of these words, right? So we got rid of them. We came up with words that people understood, like big, medium, and small. And people want to know, what do you mean when you say big? Well, we mean $5,000 or more, and small is less than $1,000. I guarantee you 90% of our small ideas didn't cost us anything. It's just a little bit of elbow grease, right? The big ones, usually way more than $5,000, right? Because they end up involving staffing of some kind. But we make the tests really small so that we're not spending a lot of money up front. By the time I go to the school board and say, this is a good investment, we've got data to prove it. So it's a very, this micro-testing approach really does work. Now, we started off with this name, Big Idea, but our union came to us and said, you guys talk about small ideas, but you only care about the big ideas. So we said, well, you know what we can do there? We just get rid of that name, and we'll call it something else. The Big Hunt for Ideas. See what we did? Very clever. Changed the name slightly, kept the sailor, and now we're in year 2, guys, and we really get into, we know we got to really praise this group of idea champions. So we have these celebrations we'd hold where we'd, hey, come on, we're going to celebrate, social hour, we're going to celebrate these ideas. We'll meet at a bar. We just made it fun. Everything about this had to be fun because we were building trust. We're trying to get the staff to trust us. First couple of years, we didn't quite have that trust, but we knew we were getting close. And if you know anything about innovation or innovation programming, you'll see this cartoon and you'll just laugh really hard because the reality is people do not just give you their ideas, right? They don't. And so we were artificially pushing ideas into the software, our team just fabricating ideas because we were trying to show people it was safe, okay? But trust me, it wasn't until year 3 that we really hit some numbers. And at that point, we also realized, hey, this is not about software. We kept getting, we survey people and they tell us, it's like, hey, where are the people in all this? The software is interesting, the website's cool, but where's the human contact? So we identified an innovation coach in all 10 of our buildings. We gave him a tiny little stipend, like $1,000 maybe. And we said, you're the one who gets up in faculty meetings and you sell it, right? So we trained them and coached them on that, and they did a super job. We said, it's not about software, this is about people. And in year 3, we hit some numbers. We got 183 ideas. That's about double where we started. We had 671 participants. That's half of our workforce. You talk to people at Target or anywhere else, it's like they're used to getting like 20%. So we're getting 50%. They were saying we were killing it. 1,200 comments. That was pretty nice. People were getting involved. And then we had 4,434 logins, which tells you something, right? If you've got that many logins and only 1,200 comments, what's happening? They're lurking, right? They're going in, they want to see what's going on, but they don't want to say anything, right? So we had a lot of people just checking it out. And then we ran a vote, like you could vote on your favorite ideas. We had 50,000 votes. Now, pairwise is like Pepsi versus Coke, so you can vote multiple times. But we, with only 1,200 employees, we clearly had a lot of people voting often. It's like Chicago, right? Vote early, vote often. All right. You can't see this, but we had some big ideas like Vantage. Vantage was our first year big idea, and by year 3, that was really getting traction. Tonka Codes, that computer science curriculum, was starting to take off. Tonka Online, those are our first 3 big ideas. But by year 3, people could see, like, this stuff was really happening. And the people who'd submitted those ideas, they were like leading the ideas. They were leading the idea teams. It was like a leadership opportunity, right? So all of a sudden, the word out there was, hey, this is real, right? So it took us a few years to get there. We have a calendar that we follow. We want this to be predictable for people. We don't, no surprises. So, we've got a calendar. We brought in some new rules. We, hit some levels. We said, you had to have a team. You had to identify a team. We didn't want people living in a vacuum, submitting ideas. So we said, you got to have a few friends you've talked about this with. We call it socialization. You got to socialize your ideas through the website, but also live. You got to reach out to your friends. You got to go spearfish a little bit. Year 5, we rebuilt the website. Here's the form you have to fill out as a teacher. Now, this is a real go-getter teacher who wrote a lot, but a lot of times they fill out the form and it's a couple of sentences, okay? I just grabbed that one by chance. You see a panel with ideas. You go in there. It's not, I just want to give you a little taste of what it looks like when you're in the site. And then when you get into an idea, it starts to work like a social, networking software, right? So it's like Facebook or anything, but people start commenting on each other's ideas. And these are people who don't know each other, right? They're across the district in different schools, but they start reading each other's ideas. So you start to build this cool culture of, hey, cool, wow. And they start to link websites and put photos in there, and you get some really great conversation that starts to happen. And that's where the ideas start to really get some traction. This is what voting looks like. We tell them, time to vote, so we get in there. You click your school site. It throws those kind of pairwise, Pepsi versus Coke. Which idea do you like better? The algorithm behind the software does a forced rank order. So I know at the end of the voting what the top, out of 208 ideas, I know exactly what the top ideas are, top 30 or 40. Those are the ones we take into the testing season, right? So 2016-17, this is our year we're in right now. We had 208 ideas. We took 18 medium and bigs into testing, which is the biggest number we've ever taken, but a lot of excitement there. We had well over 30 small ideas that are either still moving or they're already fully implemented. Right? We have our annual Innovation Summit next week, and we'll do a lot of celebration on those big wins. I talked about design thinking, gang, and this I still absolutely believe. We run 2-hour workshops on these medium and big ideas. All call, after school, anybody can come, and we just walk people through this 5-step process, and it's killer. You guys raise your hand in the back, you're doing design thinking. This process is so simple, yet it works. And so if you're not using this already, we've had awesome success with it. We even have teachers now who use it as an instructional strategy in their classrooms. We've got a sort of an incubator accelerator. If you know anything about business model canvas, that's essentially what this is. So once we get an idea that's starting to move, we push it into this business model canvas and we really get into some detail on it. Some people hate this because they just don't like that having to record. So I'll go in and fill out the canvas for them because it's not really that hard, but they think it's work. This is what it looks like. You're just filling in fields. A lot of those are drop downs. Optum United Health built this for us. They give it to anybody. They just want to see this happen in education, so they've been just a super partner for us. But business model canvas is a pretty common term in entrepreneurship and innovation. 8 minutes left. Okay, I'm going to race to the finish, gang. So the fall, we do an event. All right, and I always say to people, there's 3 things you got to do. Run an event. Call it, try to make it interesting and clever. In the winter, we do the testing. We use Eric Rees, Lean Startup, which is a great model. If you're, it's not an educator book, but it's actually very simple, the model itself. I just call it tiny sandboxes. We just try to figure out what's the smallest test environment we can think of. And that's how we decide whether or not an idea has potential. Then we just grow the sandbox. Then in the spring, we do our summit. We do our, like the GSV summit, we do a summit, and we celebrate our idea champions and the best ideas from our testing season. We invite parents and community members to the summit, so we start to get the word out in the community of what we're doing, and that brings a lot of excitement in the community. All right, here it comes. And I do want to save just a couple minutes for questions. So if you're familiar with innovation language, front-end innovation, all right, that's what we do in the fall. We're talking about things, and then the back end is what we do in the winter. Then idea generation, sorry, these aren't clicking in order here. Idea generation, it's fuzzy, it's abstract, it's kind of a little crazy in the front end. A lot of creativity and imagination, but you get to the back end, and this is where we put on the lab coats. It's testing, refining, it's learning about what's working, what's not. We do a lot of focus groups with students, teachers, parents, really try to learn about stuff. It's very disciplined experimentation, all right? And then we get to the money shot, which is at the end. We celebrate, recognize, reward. That's what I call our summit, all right? And it's very important that you celebrate. If you do this in a vacuum and you don't take advantage of those opportunities to celebrate, you're really missing out on your opportunity to grow capacity. Go back?
I was slow.
That's all right, man. All right. Right there.
Thank you.
You bet. All right. And just these couple last points here. What have we learned? We've learned about clickers that are slow. All right, 2% is a big number in innovation because what? That's the percentage of ideas that succeed. 98% failure rate in innovation, so you gotta know that going in. I always say to people, that's why we need 208 ideas, right? Because if only 2% are gonna succeed, that means out of 208, we only have 4, maybe 5 winners, right? Now that's not really true, we get more than that. But that's just reality. So we've learned, there's a lot of failure in this, you have to be okay. And that's really what this slide is getting at, but it's kind of complicated, so I'll keep moving. Stephen Johnson, I'm going to throw a couple of book titles at you guys. Again, stuff we've learned. It's a phenomenal book, all right? Where good ideas come from, the natural history of innovation. Just an amazing, kind of like a Malcolm Gladwell type author, just a really super. And it's $20 for the book, but if you're cheap and you want to just watch the YouTube video, you can Google it. It's 4 minutes. It just tells you the whole story, but obviously the book's way better, right? I always tell people who think innovation is all about technology that's very wrong. That in fact, we get in our idea hunt, we get 75% of our ideas have nothing to do with technology. So think about it. If you equate innovation with technology, I know I shouldn't say that at GSV here. Sorry. Take this off the video. But really, you're missing out on a lot of awesome ideas. All right. And so there's some good ones that are associated with technology, but that's not the whole thing. It's not about money, right? I mean, we're actually a pretty conservative, fiscally conservative school district. So you might think we're throwing money at stuff. We're really not, right? And using the lean startup model, it's all about micro testing. It's really about being careful with your resources. So, and I talk about that with the community and the school board all the time. Steve Jobs, he always compares, Apple to IBM, and saying that, IBM was spending 100 times more on R&D when they built the Mac, right? So if you think it's just about money, it's not. And he says it at the end here. It's about the people you have, it's how you're led, and how much you get it. Right? Innovation is a mindset. And if you understand, how to work with your staff, people are intuitively creative, and you will get great ideas. You got to earn their trust first, but once you get to that place, you'll know. And I would say it's not just for businesses and business, corporate America and whatnot. Innovation fits and works in the education space. We've translated it, from private sector into education, but we're all the time looking at private sector. We look at Google, Project X, and look at all the ways that big companies innovate. General Mills is a big company in the Twin Cities, right? And they totally missed Greek yogurt. Chobani's got like 50% of the Greek market right now. I have friends who got fired at General Mills because they missed it, right? You can get complacent in your thinking, and innovation builds in that agility and that understanding of how disruptive all of our markets are. I'm not going to talk about Lego Movie, although this is the best innovation story ever, right? Because this whole movie disrupted their own business model, which was about, right, all these Lego sets with all these instructions. And what was Emmett, supposed to do, right? Follow the directions, right? Follow the rules. But he found the underground, right? The master builders underground who were completely breaking the rules, right? So here's a company that disrupts their own business model. And it's just my favorite story. But sure enough, you dig into Lego a little bit, you find out they got a book called Brick by Brick where they tell their whole innovation story about how they've stayed on top of the toy market by being innovative and being disruptive, sometimes dangerously disruptive and almost putting themselves out of business, but not completely. Amazon, that's for my friend Ryan Lefton in the crowd here. Thanks, Ryan, for stopping by. I sometimes refer to this business tool, the 2x2, because it's a business tool that I try to use as a model for education, but I'm running out of time. So I'll just say, high level of innovation, high level of resource. Oh, I put Amazon there, Ryan. It's supposed to be the image that's supposed to show up there is a unicorn sliding down a rainbow, right? Because nobody has plentiful resources and a full innovation mindset, but it's a good dream, except maybe Amazon. Whoops, that's not, yep. So it's not hierarchical, right? I always talk about innovation, the kind of innovation programming we run is being a very distributed leadership model, all right? This is really important point that I want to say. We're used to these traditional hierarchies in education, but every single one of our big idea projects have been led by a classroom teacher, right? In fact, one of them who was just here a few seconds ago, Chris Pears, was one of our original idea champions, after his idea was successful, he actually resigned from the district so he could consult on the idea that he gave us, right? And I don't know what that language is. That's not what I had it in originally. I love it, man. Anyway, forget about that slide. Super collaborative, right? Innovation. We do a lot of work with our staff. I'm down to a minute. Okay, well, this is going to have to. Brene Brown. If you guys know Brene at all, we use Daring Greatly as a real inspiration. You know, she's done so much, I think, for helping us understand how to be courageous and be vulnerable. So that's just a book we love. Roger's Law of Innovation Diffusion. You know, I think on top of this, I say like words like blah blah blah, because you know you can study innovation science, and I'm not trying to dismiss it, but it's like, you know, these are the slides that usually put people to sleep in my deck. So really what it's about is empowerment, right? And this is going to be a great place to wrap, because you know, we have found our staff have responded so positively. We track, you know, we've got surveys that we do. You know, our teacher morale every year that we've run this program continues to go up. It's ridiculous how much our teachers appreciate the voice that we've given them in the future of the district. So it's a very, you know, it's a model that really supports teacher empowerment, and you know, some of the teacher leadership that's surfaced through this process is really pretty spectacular. You know, I meet with teachers all the time on, you know, talking about their ideas, and it's not uncommon for me to have teachers actually tear up in the meeting because they can't believe that the assistant superintendent is sitting there talking to them about an idea that they put into the event, that the crowd embraced, and now the district is testing. It's like literally, it happens regularly that people get emotional because they care a lot, right? So I'm gonna stop there. I got just a few seconds left. Any questions? Come on, give me something. Throw a hard ball. I've been doing this for 6 years. Yeah.
How about, can you take one big idea and walk us through quickly how it happened and what the cycle time was?
It's crazy, right? I mean, the first phase is, like Tonka codes, right? I mean, here, I'm an English teacher, right? I became a principal and assistant superintendent. So, you know, when Tonka codes, this idea of a K-12 computer science curriculum won the fall event, I was terrified of it. I know nothing about computer science, but what I did was I started focus grouping with parents. They loved it. They said, absolutely, we want you to do this, right? Focus group with kids. They loved it too. So I put an all-call email out to one of our elementaries. I said, anybody working in the software engineering business, anybody can come in and coach me on this, right? Because we didn't have any teachers who knew it much better than, you know. Anyway, so I was flooded with offers to come in. So I pulled in a group of about 30 software engineers in our district, all dads. So, and it was just, you know, they were so thrilled to have a way to help contribute and whatnot. So, and that group grew, and I started running meetings of basically software engineers and just saying, think about this, you know, backward map this from your, you know, from college. Let's go all the way back to the very beginning. Let's build a scope and sequence. And shortly after we built that, code.org launched theirs, right? So, you know, we changed it up a little bit. But it was, I mean, we really built it from scratch. And really, it's kind of like the Brene Brown. Like, you just have to be vulnerable enough and just ask for help. And I do that all the time, you know, every single big idea, especially the big ideas. We just look around and see who can help us with this. Other questions? Yeah, here. Oh, yeah, thank you. Thanks, Nicole. Nicole here on the microphone. Thanks, Nicole. She's actually from Minnesota, which is awesome. Yeah.
Did you have any issue with the different levels sort of trying to get all the funding or all the issues to theirs, like high school people only looking for high school innovation?
Yeah, we actually
sort of dividing, because we have a big divide between.
We totally separated everything, right? So now we have elementary, you know, E5 ideas, then we have middle school ideas, and we have high school ideas. And then we separate each one of those buckets by big, medium, small, right? So we actually have 9 different categories. And so we do keep them separate. And like when I said we advanced 18 medium and bigs, that's 9 mediums, 9 bigs, 3 at each school level.
But now when you go in on the innovation, do you then try to plan it up, or is it just living in that one area? So if it's a K-5 model, do you plan that now once those students get to 6th grade, how you're expanding on it?
We you know, like when we built the K-12 computer science, I mean, you know, we started with the elementary footprint because then we knew we could grow it to middle school and high school, right? You know, sometimes it's got a natural like place in the, you know, the K-12 continuum, and sometimes, you know, it doesn't. It really depends on the idea.
Yeah, because I could see once it's in that area how good it is, but I always had the problem with now bringing
Yeah.
it to the next group.
We run into a lot of frustration there with people like, I don't know where to put this, or I, so we just try to take our best shot. I mean, it's guessing. Really, we do a lot of guessing.
Take one more.
There's one in the back, yeah.
I've got a question about the time. So you've got, not only are you doing this innovation project with teachers and people in your building, right? But you also have other initiatives that you're putting forward, other trainings you have to do.
Right.
How do you manage the time
Yeah.
to give to teachers so that they can, because just coming up with the idea and kind of
Right.
thinking it through and everything does take a little
Awesome
bit of time.
question. And first thing we say to folks is, look, there's no obligation here, right? So you're doing it 100% voluntarily, right? Some principals give time in faculty meetings or come up with ways to give people time to go in. But really what we're looking for are what we call kind of super users, like people who are intuitively interested in new ideas, because those people are just starved for a place to go to meet other people like them, right? So we know that not everybody is going to be into this, but like there's a 20-25% of our workforce that would do this, for no pay at all because they just love it, right? So we leverage that a little bit. I still time card people when they work outside the contract on ideas. We try to, and half the time when I offer to pay people outside the contract, they never turn in a time card. They're just too into the idea. So we try to be cautious about burning people out and whatnot, but we just make it very clear it's not an obligation. All the curriculum training and all that kind of work, and we do a lot of that. That's the main engine of the district, granted. But these innovation projects, they really drive people's excitement and enthusiasm. So I really think you got to have both. So the amount of time that is dedicated to the innovation projects, it's quite a bit less than the time we spend on the engine, right? But it's important time. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stick around and take questions up front. Really appreciate you guys coming. You can tell probably I'm a little passionate about this. I really want other school districts to try it. And again, we've got some nice corporate funders in the Twin Cities, and you can do this virtually. They can deploy your software from wherever. So you reach out to me if you think your district is a good candidate for this. They're looking for like 6 or 7 districts for next year that they would underwrite it 100%. So you wouldn't have to pay a nickel. So it's an opportunity. You can reach out to me if you're interested, but I just appreciate you coming. So thank you.